It's Rodney Harris live inside the Lines studio with my partner Lamar Swells. We here to talk about the first weekend of high school football in Northeast Ohio. So who we here to talk about first?
We're going to talk about the St. V Garfield game that we saw Thursday night. It wasn't much of a game, but as you see, St. V came out and they played very well. Both sides of the ball. Garfield, just didn't have enough firepower to match up with St. V this year.
So now you said, because we was debating over the phone.
Right.
You were talking about Garfield and City Series play.
Right.
So you say I say they got intimidated. St. V had the black on, looked like, scared them a little bit. And, real quick, I heard a father or uncle or somebody say something that I had never heard in a high school football game
What was that?
before. St. V was beating Garfield 28-0 going into the second quarter. So, they was changing fields. Everybody was quiet, no cheerleader, no band. And I was on Garfield's side.
Okay.
I heard an uncle, father, grandfather. I heard him say, "Can you give him a chance to run the ball?"
I thought the defense was not supposed to let you run the football.
That's what I thought.
Going back to what you were saying, I don't think it was intimidation at all. I just think that they're just not that good. We saw a lot of things. Their first four possessions, they were 3 and out, which led to the 28-0 score in the first quarter. And from there on, it just went downhill. So, that's just not a good football team. And seeing, we talked about City Series football. It's just, the quality of play over the past few years just declining. A lot of these players are going to other schools in the suburban area and to other, private schools, and there's just not much to offer in the city. A lot of these teams don't have in the city as far as a lot of pull and a lot of camaraderie that they have with the players. That's just not there anymore.
So, okay, the final score was St. V 63.
Correct.
Garfield 0.
I was mad that they didn't get 70.
Yeah, well, they tried.
Yeah.
So what do you think about St. V this year? They got a chance of going back-to-back?
They could. They have a solid team. I think going forward, I think if they play somebody better, I don't think it was just that St. V was that good. I think that Garfield was just that bad. And, against a better team, we'll see them against Mooney. We'll get a better gauge as to what that football team is really about.
That's going to be a great game.
Right.
Okay, so that was Thursday night.
Exactly.
Friday night, we went down to Camp McKinley and seen the Camp McKinley Bulldogs versus the Buchtel Griffins. So tell me what you thought about that game coming into the game and then what you thought about it after.
Well, first thing that I saw when I walked into the stadium, like, Buchtel ain't got a lot of players. And then when I look across the sideline at McKinley, I'm like, oh, they got a lot of players. So, it's kind of hard to tell what you'll see. But when I got there, I kind of thought Buchtel might have a problem with a team like McKinley because when you have a lot of guys that you suit up, even if they're not playing, if you have a lot of guys that you can suit up, then, you have more fresh bodies. And I thought maybe conditioning might play a factor into the game with Buchtel. And as you saw, as the game went on, Camp McKinley was just better athletically up front on both sides of the football, and that kind of dictated the pace of the game. There are some opportunities that McKinley had to really open the game up. You had the 2 shank punts that Buchtel had back-to-back, and that put them in Buchtel territory, and they still weren't able to capitalize. I thought Buchtel might still be able to make a game of it, but as the game went on, they got more and more wore down, and that's what you saw.
So, tell me what you think McKinley's going to do this year? And let's just talk about McKinley first, because we had a debate about Booker, and I want to get to that debate. So, what do you think McKinley's going to do this year?
McKinley should have a solid team. I think the same thing as I said about St. V applies to them. Let's see him against a good team. Let's see him against good teams in the area and the city and the state, and then we'll be able to get a better gauge as to what kind of team that is. Because they're not really a big football team, but they're a good athletic football team, and they seem to have good sound principles. So that can get you a long way. That can get you a long way, and I think that if the quarterback plays the way he did Friday night, that team could have a chance to make playoffs this year.
Okay, now let's get to Akron Booker Griffins. Because you said that you were talking to a couple people that and y'all all as a group thought Booker was gonna win no more than 2 games this year.
It's gonna be real tough because what I saw on the Booker sideline is just you got dominated at the line of scrimmage. Okay, and when you come to the city, you might not have that kind of issue, but you're following you're following Camp McKinley up with St. Ed's. Then after that, you're following up with Mooney. So I mean, you're gonna dig yourself in a hole, playing that type of schedule. And in the city, the city has, it's not that they've gotten better. It's just that Booker has digressed. So they're going to have a tough go. They're going to have a lot of games and against some teams that they were beating a couple years ago that they probably won't beat this year because they just don't have it at the line of scrimmage, and the skill position on the offensive side of the ball, it still remains a big question mark going on the season as it progresses.
Now because in that McKinley game, Chris Davis, quarterback for Booker, when he did have time, which was like maybe 2 or 3 times that whole game, when he did have time, he was putting the ball right on the money, and they were dropping it. And my opinion, they should have went to Rucker, number 24, a little bit more. He's a proven wide receiver from last year. He can catch the ball. That one end zone pass, if Chris would have put it up a little higher, that would have been a touchdown. And then another thing, Booker had a chance to even the score when it was 7-7. Like we said, when we got a chance to watch the highlights of the game, it was 7-7. I mean, it was 7-0 with about 3 minutes left before the half. Right. I think if Booker would have been able to hold them, it would have been a closer outcome. I think Booker should have scored at least 14 points. But that's just my opinion. And my opinion is I think Booker has a chance to win the city, even with the athletes that they got, because they got some athletes. I think some of them are just out of position.
Yeah, but who are you going to get to put in those positions when you move them around? That's
well, they got to play both ways.
Yeah, but now you're talking about, like I said, you look on that Booker sideline and they don't have enough players. They just don't have a lot of players. So you're going to have a lot of tired guys out there. You're not going to have, you don't have much substitution. You don't have much room for error.
No, you don't.
You don't. So when you put into that situation, you're just making it hard for yourself.
Yeah, but I mean, like we talked about it before, as far as Booker going out and playing these very tough teams. The first 3 games of the season, getting beat up, getting wore down. And I think that because their defense played well, their defense really did play well. And I don't know if you can take the defensive line and put them over on the offense, and just let them play both ways. I don't know if the defensive line can play offense because it's a whole nother game on the offensive side. But their offensive line, you watch some of the highlights. The quarterback didn't even have a chance to turn around. That's why they had no running game because McKinley was in the backfield on the snap. So I don't know what the coaches have to do to correct that. I don't know if they can correct it. I think you were saying that they could beat Garfield, and I think they'll beat Garfield.
They could.
I think they'll beat Northeast.
They could beat them.
Playing at home might benefit them when they play Ella and Kenmore because they play both of them at home, and Firestone. And, like we said earlier this week, we hadn't got a chance on the show to see any of these teams play. So it's kind of hard to evaluate them. North won this weekend.
Right. with 20 people probably.
Yeah. So, in the city, what's your picks? From first to 6 or 7, how many teams they got?
To me, it's wide open. I think Elliott is probably the favorite to win the city. But after that, it's a crapshoot. Kenmore could be back where they were last year. But, you have to see how the season goes on, new coach. And we'll see how that works. But there's another key point, getting back to Buchtel. McKinley got in the red zone about 4 times. And they came away with 3 rushing touchdowns. Where, as you look on the Buchtel side, got into the red zone, I believe, once. And when you look at those type of stats, when you break down a game, what you do when you get in from that 20-yard yard line inside, what you do as far as putting it in the end zone and being able to produce points, that's a kind of an indicator as to what type of team you have. The long time Buchtel got in the red zone, they had a penalty pushing back out, and then they didn't score. That turnover on down. So, you have to really, getting back to your point, there's a lot that they have to do over Buchtel to be able to try to correct some things going forward. Like I said, they have St. Ed next. You get into the red zone, you better be able to put it in, punch it in the end zone. And if not, you're not going to be able to do much. And it's just hard for me to see them generate much offense with the skill positions that they have.
Okay, speaking of St. Ed's, this Saturday coming up, we will have Akron Buchtel Griffins versus St. Edward's up in Lakewood. And St. Edward's is coming off of a kind of tough game,
right,
against Glenville. Glenville.
Right.
Will that help Buchtel? Will it hurt Buchtel?
I don't think it's gonna matter either way. Because what can you do? Glenville, played as best as they could. They came back from being 23 points down to take the lead, but end up losing. My thing is, does Buchtel have any gumption to be able to, if they get down like that, to be able to fight back? And as we saw against McKinley, they got down 14-0 and had a hard time. And it was 21-0 at half, and they had a hard time coming back from that, and they didn't. So my thing is, you get down early to St. Ed's, and they hit you in the mouth, you got to be able to hit them back.
Okay, let's transition to how we feel about teams like a Buchtel that are going off the first 3 games of the season, playing teams they probably have no reason to be playing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, more of a lot of problems with a lot of inner city schools.
Right.
Are the athletic department don't get the funds that they need, and they have to go out and play what they call money games.
Right.
And they don't have a booster, they don't have any support like that. And they need the money, but the question is, just like the question was last year, what are you really doing to your team physically and mentally by playing these games?
You're not really doing any good for them. To build up team morale, you need to be able to win football games. Everyone knows that. And when you put them in a situation where it's hard for them to win football games and put them up against competition that's going to be hard to beat, and you probably won't beat them. It does a lot for the psyche of the team, for the morale of the team, not just the team, but the coaches. So, you look at it as, I look at it as, when Booker was winning state, they were playing these teams. They were playing the top teams in the state and even across state lines. So, it's about finding what's good for your team now and not so much holding on to what you were doing, and find other ways to win. It's probably best if you take a step back and you play some lesser teams that are not really at the same caliber as you were used to playing, to get some wins under your belt. There's nothing wrong with playing Hudson, Talmadge, as a game, of Barberton to start out the season, and to be able to get some morale that way.
But like we said before, because they are money games, the hard choice for an inner city coach, to me, is we gotta play these games. I talked to a coach about it, and they were basically like, we gotta play these games to get what we need to get. And, because me and you both said, if you don't need to play the games for the money, you don't need to play money games.
Right.
Then you can go out and play the Barbertons, the Kent Roosevelts, the Copleys, and then you go at the end of the season. Now you're undefeated. You're 10-0. You're 9-1. But just you take a team like Booker that has won the state a couple times and runner-up recently. You take a team like that, you might be able to get in there based on your name.
Right.
You undefeated, you 9-1.
Right.
You Booker Griffins, state champs, all of this. I guess that's a hard thing for a coach to actually do.
Right.
Because money is important in getting your team what they need.
But what also is important is to be able to look attractive to other players. If you're having losing seasons and you're not beating anybody outside of the conference, you're going to have a hard time bringing people in to want to be on your team to play against the St. Ed's, the Canton McKinleys, the Moonies, the St. V's. I mean, you got to be able to generate some type of morale to where, if I have a kid that's across town, another school, and he's looking to open a roll to my school, I have to have something that's appealing for him to come here. And yeah, it's good to go get these money games, to play these better teams, but at the same time, you still have to look at what are you doing for your program. And that might not always be in the best interest for your football program.
Okay. This week we have, and we got this screen, and what we're going to do this season is run some of the highlights off of the screen and talk about our game of the week. Maybe run some commercials for the sponsors and stuff like that. I would like to say this year we are on High School Cube. High School Cube is like, man, it is outstanding. It's I guess these guys got together from Chicago and they cover all these high school games all around the country. And they give Inside the Lines opportunity to show the game live, or we can do a tape delay. We can put the scoreboard on there. Really a lot of outstanding stuff. I've been talking to these guys all summer long as far as getting this together. So welcome aboard High School Cube. We'll be able to, like I said, on Thursday and Saturday games, we'll be able to show the games live off of our website, which is akrontodayShow.com. When it's feasible to do that. Sometimes we go to these stadiums that, they're old stadiums and the internet connection is not really strong enough. In those cases, we'll show the game the next day. Okay. And another thing that we're doing here this year Inside the Lines, we're condensing the game. So people can watch the game on their smartphone or their tablet. And, I don't care if it's your son, your grandson. Nobody wants to sit and watch a 2-hour game and the end of the score is like 7-0. So what we're going to do is we're going to condense the game and you'll see the whole game. First quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. But you won't see every single play. Those rushing for 1 yard, you won't see that unless it was like McKinley's quarterback when he ran for about 3 yards, but he really in total ran about 10 yards because he was spinning this way and spinning that way and spinning this way,
taking people out,
spinning back. Now that's something that we'll show because that was some excitement in it. But those are some of the things coming up this season. I'd like to thank my partner, Lamar Swells, for being a part of Inside the Lines 2013. So you said St. V winning the state?
I think they could. Like I said, we need to see them against some more competition. We'll see kind of how good they are. And, we haven't seen Mooney yet, so we don't know how good they are either. But if they're equally as good, it should be a good test.
And they go down to Dayton and play Thurgood Marshall this year, too, down in Dayton. Now, that's a test.
Yeah, that'll be a test. Haven't seen Thurgood Marshall either. So, if they're good, once again, we'll see, what type of medal that St. V has.
I saw they play, this is one of our game of the week. They play Massillon down in Massillon. Right. We like to send a good shout out to Reggie Rogers down there in Massillon. Now he came to the Bookdo game with all his orange.
Talking about score twice. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah. So until next week, this is Rodney Harris,
Lamar Swells,
Inside the Lines. We'll see you
later.